Hello and welcome. This is what I would like to call Storytime, where I tell stories that I find interesting and hopefully that you might find interesting. Most of them have a little bit of a darker tone, but the main purpose is that it should be relaxing and calming. I will not scream. I will not shout. There are no jump scares. Hopefully, it might keep you thrilled, but you don't have to be afraid. This story is called I Can Show You How to Time Travel. And it begins. I'd known Gilliam for years. We had the same metaphysics class back at university, and he was the one that kept my attention away from a lecturer. He was always the clown, and he always had crazy ideas. I thought he was joking when he said he found a piece of a ripped out notebook paper that apparently allows you to look into the future. He said that, of all things. He found it in an old copy of A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in the university library. I don't quite remember the words Gilliam said, but he sounded incredibly excited. The next day he passed me the slightly yellow paper in a lecture. I remember that the topic was whether or not objects exist through time. It was obviously ripped out of a normal notebook. There were the usual punch holes on the left, and the lower part of the page was ripped off. But at the top, in capital letters, was the sentence, "You can travel through time." And the rest of the page was filled with small and tiny block letters, but someone had made the effort to write it all in mirror writing. It was somewhat confusing, but still possible to read. There were a few sentences that sounded like they were advertising time travel, and below, a series of instructions on how to achieve it. I don't quite remember the details, but the gist was this. You were supposed to make a mix of several powders and then find a strong light source in an otherwise dark area and carefully draw a line where your shadow fell. In the center of it, there was supposed to be 2 arrows, not unlike the recycling symbol I've seen in some countries. 2 arrows arranged in a circle, and each pointing towards the end of the other arrow. Then I think you were meant to light the whole thing on fire and keep your shadow within the lines. Although there was no information on what exactly was supposed to happen. It just said that it will make you understand time and allow you to travel through it. I think at the bottom of the page, where the paper was ripped off, was the beginning of a sentence, and the other part was ripped away. It started with, "Make sure the moon," and that was it. Gilliam told me he had looked for the other part, but he wasn't able to find it in the Hitchhiker's Guide or on the shelf where he found the book. Now, Gilliam wanted to try the experiment on the same day, and he had already arranged most of the ingredients. I remember salt and powdered white chalk, and there were a few other things, but the one thing he wasn't able to get was magnesium. We tried to convince Dakota, a chemist friend of ours, to steal magnesium for us, but she refused, and we simply couldn't find another way. The mix Gilliam had made ended in the trash. I also thought the yellow paper ended there too. And I thought the note was gone until 2 weeks ago when Gilliam texted me. And it was years that I last spoke to him, and his sentence only contained 2 words. Guess what? So I gave him a call, and Gilliam asked me the same question. I guessed that he was engaged. He laughed and asked me whether I remembered the note, which I didn't until he said that he meant the time travel instructions. Gilliam found a note in one of his old notebooks, and he wanted to give it another try. And I laughed. I thought it was joking. And we ended up talking for nearly an hour about the good old times. And then I told him about my awesome sounding but horribly boring job, and Gilliam told me about his recent breakup. We met up on Friday night, had a great laugh. Just before we said goodbye, Gilliam said that he had all the materials ready and he was going to try time travel that night. I was too tired for his jokes. Like an old man in a young man's body, I went home instead. In the morning, I had several messages from Gilliam. 0:14 a.m. I'm gonna try it now. See you in the future, mate. 0:51. Burned like hell, but not much else happened. Seems like it's still the same day. Damn. I wanted to see whether my wife would be hot. 01:09. Oh, dude. I think the fumes got to me. My shadow seems strange. 01:14. Dude, my shadow moves faster than I do. 01:30. Listen, this is really freaky. I feel completely sober and I can touch my nose and everything, but my shadow is still strange. It looks as if it's predicting my movements. 01:58. Okay, I think I'm nuts. My shadow just grabbed a glass off a table long before I did. And then it got up. And then it got up. God, I'm serious. My shadow moved as if I got up and took a few steps. It literally left my feet and was a few steps away until I followed. 02:04. Man, it's not predicting my movements. It makes me do things. 02:08. Dude, really, I can't do anything but what the shadow does. I'm not joking. This thing works. This thing really works. 2 missed calls from Gilliam. 02:16. Can't reach you. Call me, man. 02:22. My shadow just went to bed. I see it lying there. I was still standing in the doorway, but my shadow is already in bed. I can't stop my feet from moving. 08:40 a.m. 1 missed call. My shadow isn't here. I don't have a shadow. Man, this is scary. Call me. 0909. Dude, my shadow was waiting in the shower. I'm not joking. It left the room when I stepped inside, but I couldn't follow it. I'm in the kitchen, and my shadow is moving near the counter. I think it's making sandwiches. 0920. You should try time travel too. It's awesome. 0928. One missed call from Gilliam. No, I didn't want to write that. I wrote that to several people. I didn't want to. Don't do it. Help me. 0930. Just left the house. It took something out of its pocket and threw it on a table. I think it was the phone. Please. I tried to call Gilliam, but he didn't answer his phone. I only reached him at night, and he behaved normal and said that he was fine and that he was just joking in the morning. We talked for a while, and everything really seemed fine. There were some erratic sounds in his voice, some occasional cracks as if he was interrupting himself. But he said it was just a rough road. I wasn't sure what to make of Gilliam's behavior. It was just 2 days before April the 1st, and I didn't put it past him to play an elaborate prank on an old friend. So on Sunday I texted Gilliam again, but he did not reply. And on April the 1st, I was proven right. He sent me a bunch of messages, one after the other. 11:03 a.m. Call me. 11:03. I need to show you something. 11:04. You won't regret it. 11:05. I can show you how to time travel. Call me. 11:05. This is awesome, man. Call me. Or, even better, come over. At 11:06, Gilliam called me. I didn't see his messages until after a phone conversation, but the conversation was nearly the same as his messages. He kept repeating that he had traveled in time and that he wanted to show me how to do it. Come over, Gilliam said again and again. You really need to try this. Gilliam seemed disappointed, nearly angry when I told him that I didn't have time to come over. I knew it would take me at least an hour to get up to his house, and I already had plans with my girlfriend for the night. I promised Gilliam to meet up the next day. After our phone conversation, I got straight away another message. Come over. I can show you how to time travel. He sent the same message 3 more times during the evening. When he sent a 4th message, I put my phone on silent. In the morning, I had 2 mailbox messages from Gilliam. The first was from around 11 p.m. and was very short. Come over. I can show you how to time travel. The second was from around 3 a.m. In this message, Gilliam's voice sounded hoarse. Come over. You can travel through time. You need to try this. I can show you how to time travel. Come over. You can travel through time. You need to try this. I can show you how to time travel. Come over. You can travel through time. You need to try this. I can show you how to time travel. Come. Gilliam's voice paused for a moment, and then he screamed for help, and the message ended. I tried to call Gilliam when I heard his messages, but his phone was dead. I checked my email and finally Facebook. His page was filled with several people asking Gilliam to stop spamming them, and one saying that he must have a spam bot in his email. And then I saw his last status from 1 a.m. the same morning. I can show you how to time travel. It had about 40 likes and several comments. The first were asking Gilliam for his secret, but the latter comments were all asking Gilliam to stop spamming. Throughout the night he had sent me 14 messages, nearly all identical, except that 2 of them had spelling errors, and they all said the same thing. I can show you how to time travel. I wrote back, asking him to stop. Tried again to call Gilliam, but his phone was still dead. The whole day I wasn't able to get in touch with him. Text messages, phone, email, Facebook. Gilliam didn't respond. I wasn't sure whether Gilliam was still available for our evening meetup. Still, right after work, I drove over to his place. I hadn't been there in years, and I got lost on the way. My mobile phone finally led me in the right direction. Just then, when I was about 5 minutes from his house, I got another message from Gilliam. When you come over, I can show you how to time travel. Gilliam's house looked strange. All the curtains were drawn, and his car was parked half on the street and half on his front lawn. I stopped my car in front of his garage. Before I was even able to get out of the car, Gilliam came running out of the front door. He had a wide grin on his pale face. "Come in," he shouted. "Quick, quick, come in." He grabbed my arm and pulled me away before I was even able to lock the car. "What's wrong with you?" I asked. "Everything is great," Gilliam said. "I can show you how to time travel." I played along with his joke. I felt guilty that he had it all planned for April Fools, and was sad that I hadn't been there. The moment I stepped inside the living room, I knew I was wrong. The smell of burnt plastic hurt my lungs, and it made me cough. Come in," said Gilliam. The curtains on the back windows were drawn too. The furniture was pushed towards the walls. Only one large floor lamp was lighting the room from the direction of the kitchen. On the wooden floor in the center of the living room were several plastic sheets. Gilliam pulled me towards one of the 2 plastic sheets lying on the floor. There was a heap of grayish powder at the end near me. 2 more plastic sheets were crumbled in the corner of a room. I noticed they were a darker color. "Stay still," said Gilliam, while he placed me at one end of a plastic sheet. He smiled while he grabbed a handful of the white powder and kneeled down. "Stay still," he said again. "I will show you how to time travel." It took me a moment to realize the single floor lamp behind me, to see my shadow perfectly placed on the sheet. Gilliam quickly moved and placed a thin line of grey powder around the edges of my shadow. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Time travel," he said. So when Gilliam reached my head, I had my first realization. Gilliam was using his left hand, but he had always been right-handed, and he was using his left hand to place the powder. And the grin on Gilliam's face began to grow when he finished. He grabbed another handful of powder and moved over to the other side of the sheet to outline the other side of my shadow. The moment Gilliam kneeled down on the other side, I had my second realization. Gilliam didn't have a shadow. I stepped backwards. My shadow grew. Gilliam stopped distributing powder and looked at me. His grin was gone. "Stay still," he said. "Stop it," I said. "I can show you how to time travel," he said. "You have to time travel." I took 2 steps towards the front door. Gilliam got up, the powder still in his hand. "You have to time travel," he said. Gilliam took a step towards me, and I took a few steps towards the front door. Gilliam quickly followed me, so I took another step, and then began to run. Gilliam was closely behind me. "Time travel," he screamed. I pulled the front door open. Gilliam tried to grab my arm. I pulled it away and ran out of the door. He froze for a moment, and then he ran after me. "Time travel," he screamed. "I can show you how to time travel." I pulled my car door open, I leapt inside, and I slammed the door shut. I just managed to lock the door before Gilliam pulled the handle. Gilliam grimaced and stepped backwards. I pressed the key in the ignition, and I turned it. Outside, Gilliam threw his grey powder on the floor and pulled something out of his pocket. Just when I began to pull backwards, he lit a match. "I will show you how to time travel," he screamed. The car moved away from Gilliam's garage just when the powder began to burn. Only when I got on the street I realized that the fire was just right next to where my car had been. Gilliam hadn't tried to throw the powder on my car. He had thrown it on the car's shadow. "Time travel," screamed Gilliam while I pulled away. On the drive home, I convinced myself that it was all just a prank. When I got home, I was half expecting to find a video of myself online. Instead, I realized that I couldn't access Gilliam's Facebook page anymore. And I still can't. I still can't access his page, and I can't reach him. I thought about calling the police or maybe social services or somebody else that deals with mental problems. But late that night, I got another text message. It was from a mutual friend of ours from university, Dakota, our chemist friend. And since then, she has sent me 30 more messages, and they all say exactly the same thing.